Good evening, everybody.
What's going on?
How we doing?
How's it going? We are here coming off the heels of Money in the Bank, which just ended a couple minutes ago. It's 11:30 Eastern time in New York, but you guys know the drill. We have to start the show off with a little bit of music first. Let's go. This is the Aftermath post show brought to you by the Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast. I am joined by my pay-per-view co-host, Joe Aguilar, and a special guest tonight, Peter Milano. Pete, what are you wearing tonight?
Oh, man.
How dare you
New York, dude.
come on to my show with that shirt? Unbelievable. And is that correct that the Yankees won 9-1 tonight? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I listened.
You get Chapman to pitch the ninth inning, man, lately,
When you face the Red Sox 18 times in the season, you're bound to get a win here and there.
Yeah. Half the team is out on COVID.
Listen, considering the circumstances of what the Yankees are going through right now, you got to be very happy with the outcome of the series.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Dude, I feel like I'm back in the Thunderdome doing this whole series.
Unbelievable.
Back on a webcam.
Yeah, I know. With Thunder COVID era, unbelievable. So we are coming off a really good pay-per-view. It kind of had its moments where it felt like Monday Night Raw in a way. But for the most part, I'd say 75% of the show, I was well into it. We had great action tonight. Every match, all the athletes worked their butts off tonight. I really don't have too many complaints about this show. A lot of the predictions that we made on this show 2 days ago in episode 68 came to fruition, except for the winner of the Money in the Bank, the men's side, which we'll talk about a little later. But Joe, your overall thoughts on the show?
Well, first, Wayne, before I get into anything of that, I just wanted to come on and say thanks for having me. I wore my Austin shirt because I really wanted to apologize in front of everybody. Just wanted to apologize for having no-showed a couple of these Aftermath, and so I took it from the no-show guy himself. I just wanted to apologize and just handle everything professionally, and we could move forward. And so I do apologize for all those times I missed. But having said that, I'm excited to be back, and I'm excited that this pay-per-view is the first one that I'm able to review. Especially, with first and foremost, the WWE Universe is back. We had the first big live show on Friday, and I was lucky enough to catch that, and then followed by Money in the Bank, live crowd, and I think that it was so refreshing to just hear the live chant. It's not like a produced, it's not a produced chant, or produced sounds that are coming out, that the powers that be are pushing out in front of us. It's like real people reacting real live time. And I think that's something that cannot be replaced. And so welcome back to the WWE Universe, and I just, as Drew McIntyre said earlier tonight, I hope we never see the Thunderdome again.
Peter, your thoughts on tonight?
No, nobody wants to see the Thunderdome anymore. Never again.
No.
I got to say, with the live crowd, particularly, I would say the women's match, the live crowd really fed them. It started off not so, but it started off a little like the fans didn't know where to go with it just yet. And they really just kind of started telling the story when they started feeding off the crowd tonight. And I got to say, especially that match and the men's ladder match was the same way too. It was just nonstop. Their foot was on the gas pedal the whole entire time, and the crowd was just feeding into it, and it just pumped the wrestlers up so much in the ring, and they just started performing like they used to, and they had to feel something when they went to the back room, and they probably all had smiles on their face, and just loving tonight. Yeah.
We need to do a quick burial before we get into the match. And Pete, I don't know if you've seen one of my burial segments, but we're going to do a quick burial. Something that went on during the pay-per-view that really, really pissed me off tonight. Let's talk about it right now. Hopefully my video is edited correctly. I normally use the podcast one, not the Aftermath one, but let's go. I gotta give credit to Pete for those pictures. He was the one that edited those, and I was able to insert them into a slideshow. So we gotta talk about something really quick. WWE, the NBC Peacock Network is such horse crap.
Oh my gosh!
You knew I was gonna drop a bomb, didn't you? Let me tell you something. During the entrances of the Money in the Bank match, one of the most important matches of the night, the NBC network decides to go down, freezing in and out. I thought I was watching frames, and then my screen was turning black. And this wasn't just me. This was many people from all over the states that I was talking to about this. This is what's happening. It was an NBC Peacock problem. Let me tell you. This was such Peacock, let me tell you. I couldn't even tell you that I couldn't even tell who was over with the wrestling entrances coming in. It looks like KO had a huge entrance, but that is my burial of the night and probably my burial of the week come podcast later on this week. But NBC got to get their crap together, let me tell you, because that WWE network was basically flawless for the most part, depending on what device you used.
Was it freezing up or was it pixelating?
It was freezing up for everybody.
Both for me.
Free.
Yeah, I didn't get that, but I didn't watch the Peacock service.
Thankfully. What hookup do you have?
I got an international service.
Nice.
It didn't freeze, so it was on Peacock. So you can't say, okay, it was just WWE. No, it was on Peacock, I would say, because it didn't freeze at all, didn't pixelate or anything. I had it totally clear the whole entire night.
During the match, during that part, I same thing. Like it was coming in and out. I just disconnected my internet and then I just rebooted. I thought it was me, and then I went to the mobile, and the mobile app was working a little bit better, and so I was able to catch a good deal of the early part of the men's match. But I missed all of the entrances. I missed a lot of that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I know. And I literally actually thought of getting like some type of international VPN or something like that so that I can maybe even go back to the WWE network, And like you said, Wayne, I think that WWE network, they got it to a point where it was awesome, And
maybe a little quirky in the beginning of pay-per-view sometimes.
Yeah,
exactly. That's what I was going to say. In the beginning, they had problems in the beginning that it was the same. It would freeze up, and sometimes it's your internet. If you have like the the app, and it's just like. But after a while, everything ran smooth. But in the beginning, they had some issues.
At Dave Smith, I absolutely agree. Peacock absolutely sucks. There's no reason for WWE to move their whole platform onto somebody. And listen, I get that NBC network is purchased WWE network, and it's probably in the process as we speak, looking to purchase WWE. It's been a little quiet now, but I feel like that's happening. But they got to get this right. It's either NBC or ESPN for sure. So one of those two. Give it like 2 years or so.
I don't see it happening. I really don't.
I mean, I hope it doesn't happen, but
The Peacocks is so focused on the Olympics now anyway. They got 2 weeks full of that, so.
But we had a very good show, and Joe and Pete, like we talked about very very beginning, the fans really enhanced these shows. Man, what did we do without fans all this time for the past year and a half? I mean, I guess this is something we took for granted. Apparently, Joe has gone yellow. Oh, he's back. Okay, but man, the things we take for granted. And I guess just, it's, they've been gone for a year and it feels like new again. I'm excited to see the fans back. I mean, I'm excited to go to my first AEW show in Chicago, All Out. We're going to go to, and that's going to be AEW's first show in Chicago in a year and a half. Chicago's first wrestling show, period, since before the pandemic. And so that's going to be a hot crowd for that. So I'm excited. I'm excited to get back. But let's get to the show, pre-show. Now, this was a match that I felt was pretty predictable to an extent because of the issues that Jimmy Uso had with the DWI. This is not the first time. This is the second time, and maybe even a couple more times, but not any time recent. But so this was kind of like up in the air for me. I kind of had the feeling, though, that if Jimmy had not done what he was going to do a couple weeks ago and getting drunk and driving, that it was basically showing that Usos would win the tag titles to kind of continue the story with the family Roman Reigns. Easy match to call. So that's what I predicted. I went with my gut instinct. I was right. Usos did win the titles with the help of Jimmy Uso from the outside, helping Jay Cheat get the pinfall on, I believe, Rey Mysterio took the loss, if I'm not mistaken. But great match there. I can't wait to see how that progresses. Joe, Pete, what did you guys think of that first match of the night? Good opener.
I
caught the highlight.
Yeah. Jay during the whole entire time was just amazing during the whole pandemic. He delivered every match that he was out there, even though he was losing at a certain point. He was facing Daniel Bryan and everybody else, and he was overproducing than what we've seen. He grew so much with his brother being out from injury. So it's almost like, I say it's a step back, but now he's in the tag team title scene. One of Jimmy's DWIs did get dropped. That could be another reason why. Who knows? The guy should be getting Uber in the first place if he's drinking and he's on the road.
Yeah.
In today's society, it's so easy. You don't even have to call somebody. You can just type it in your phone or whatever and just have it there for you at a certain time. So there's no excuse for him to be out there on the road at all being drunk. But like I said, his last one that he had also got dropped from the county there. So who knows what the process is? We just read what we read and see what we see. Who knows what their contact with is, besides that with the county there that he lives in. So, but the match itself, I think it was one of Dominic's best performances so far in the ring with his dad. I just feel right now something's got to have to happen with this kid. He's so young, and it's just like the fans still don't know how to take him yet. He's still not going to say he's green, but he's kind of green, I guess, with having an audience around him. But it's like, what's it going to take? Is it going to be him become a heel in the future for the people to finally, connect with him? Like, I don't feel that there's a connection with Dominic, unfortunately. And the fans, they know the Usos, they know Rey Mysterio, so they were behind that. So I kind of felt it was a little weird, a little bit, with Dominic in the ring.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, and this is where I think that obviously pairing him up with his dad, I think definitely helps. I think it helps the program overall. But I agree with you that I think that, especially in the light of the pandemic, that a lot of his work over the last 16 months or so have been in front of no crowd. And so we really don't get that authentic type of reaction where, like, you and I and the casual fans who are watching from home need to formulate our own opinion about this kid. And I agree where, you know what, perhaps it was something where a program like this would have worked in NXT on Tuesday nights on USA, and you give them a real developmental type of push. Whereas now you just drop them into Monday Night Raw, SmackDown, what have you, and you're on the main roster, and here you go. there's not a lot of clout behind him, and so it's just like how much is he paying his dues? And I think that, like you said, I think he's getting better, and I think that this was a great performance overall. Like I said, I didn't watch the whole entire match. I was able to watch the highlights, and I think it's a really good idea Pete had about possibly turning him heel, giving him something to do, pulling the trigger on the rumored Prince Mysterio gimmick, and I think that would be a really cool transition to write Ray out of it so he can be more of a, behind the scenes type of thing, and then let Prince Mysterio or Dominic Mysterio, whatever you want to call him, be that Rey Mysterio type figure moving forward. I mean, that's, like a big fantasy booking, and assuming he's going to, stay in shape and do, keep up with his program that he's got going now. And hopefully they can use him, why not?
Now, Joe, I'm going to piggyback off what you said a second ago with the possible heel turn with Dominic. I could easily see them doing a program where Rey Mysterio will have a retirement match, his last match being with his son, the build to that being Dominic at some point. I don't know when. I mean, we're close to a very big pay-per-view, SummerSlam next month. And then we're going to be getting into some, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania season. I can see a father versus son match. I don't think I've ever seen one. I'd have to really brainstorm that. But I think we get a father versus son match at some point with Dominic turning heel and causing Rey Mysterio to retire. I think it's heading in that direction. I think we're at the point where we can start thinking about going in that direction as far as those two guys go.
It's character. It's something that he's missing. It's the same thing The Rock was missing when he first started too. It's character, and the crowd doesn't know how to respond to him because he has no character right now. So,
and listen, I think being a face or being a good guy or just being told to act out of character is not the easiest thing. It might be much easier for somebody like Dominic to turn heel and become repackaged a little bit.
Also, if you notice, the match ended up in a roll-up, and that seems to be a formula lately with WWE.
We saw a lot of that.
A lot of roll-ups.
It was the only roll-up, but there was a roll-up on the pay-per-view, and it was the pre-pay-per-view, the pre-match.
Moving on,
so interesting you mentioned that. So no, really quick. I was watching it with my wife, and Natalie's like, "Oh, someone did a roll-up." She's like, "Oh, well, they're not going to finish it that way." I'm like, you would be surprised at how devastating the surprise roll-up really is.
Oh man, it's been happening a lot, Pete. You're exactly right, man. We're supposed to be arguing tonight on here, and I'm agreeing with everything you're saying so far. What's happening here?
I was busy watching the Tour de France. I missed everything. I just read the results.
Wait till we start talking about more.
Fair enough. Oh no. Moving on, we had the women's Money in the Bank match tonight, which opened up the pay-per-view. I didn't throw that in my predictions, but I was not surprised that this match would open up the pay-per-view for sure. They came in pretty hot. The women worked very hard in this match. Alexa Bliss versus Liv Morgan versus Nikki Ash versus Natalya versus Tamina versus Zelina Vega versus Naomi and versus Asuka. The winner of that match will be the briefcase holder and go for either the Women's SmackDown champion or the Women's Raw champion. So we had a great match here, and which kind of a little bit of a surprise. Maybe I shouldn't be surprised, but Nikki Ash is the winner. And if those of you guys that don't know, Nikki Ash, her gimmick, ASH stands for almost a superhero. She comes out as a superhero. I feel like this plays in perfectly because she will maybe consider herself a superhero once she wins that title. Now she's almost a superhero. So I'm not too sure where they're going to go here, who she's going to cash in on. But I thought there were a couple people that could have been deserving of this. Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, those two were definitely on my short list, and possibly Zelina Vega had a great showing tonight. What did you guys think of this match? And were you guys happy with the results?
So first off, with Nikki ASH or Nikki Ash, whatever you want to call her, it reminds me of Roman Reigns' late brother Rosie when he was the superhero in training, and he was able to have the superhero in training on his shirt. And I'm like,
totally forgot about
that gimmick. It kind of reminded me of that gimmick, and I'm like, oh, I'm not a fan of the gimmick.
This is Nikki's idea, by the way.
I think she fits.
This is Nikki's idea, by the way. This isn't a WWE thing. This is Nikki's idea.
And you know what? She's having fun. She's performing well. And I think as long as she's happy and healthy, and congrats on the win, Nikki Ash. But at the same time, I can see, and I hope it's not the case, but I can see fans not getting behind it 100%. And then all of a sudden, same thing that they did with Otis, they'll find some type of wonky way of getting the briefcase off of her and onto someone they can push. Not to say that was the smart choice with Otis, neither here nor there. I think for the match itself, some standouts, like you already mentioned, Alexa Bliss and Liv Morgan were the ones that I thought definitely stood out. Asuka put on a great show, a lot of spots there. Everyone I thought was given the right amount of spots, I think. I would have liked to see a little bit more physicality from Zelina Vega. I love that they're really, hyping her up with her return, but I really wanted to see more from her. But other than that, I think that I could have definitely seen either Alexa Bliss or Liv Morgan take it. But that's not what we got. And instead we got Nikki Ash. And so congrats on that, but we'll see.
I think with Otis was just dumb. You know what I mean? To put it flat, he was just dumb. And that was just his character. And I think with Nikki Ash, she inspires everybody that's around her. And I think that's what people are going to grasp onto, especially kids. So it's kind of like almost like the John Cena thing. You know what I mean? Where, me and you, we might be like, oh, God, this is horrible, whatever. I don't mind Nikki Ash at all because she's having so much fun with this.
We know she's a good worker.
Well, that's the thing.
Yeah.
This is even shown even now is, we saw her all the time and, she was just kind of, let's say frumpy, but, she always wore like baggy clothes and just, she was just always seemed like she was crazy, Mm-hmm. Now she's character driven even more where before you couldn't connect with her. And I think a lot of kids are going to connect with her a lot. I think it's going to help her a lot. It's weird because I don't see her in the championship title, run for anything, truthfully. So it kind of surprised me. It seemed like I love the build up totally of Zelina and Liv, the things they've been doing together on SmackDown and also doing it online, doing it, whether through Instagram or Twitter, they've been going back and forth and they just really built up Liv a lot in this match. I think this match.
It did. Really there was a good story behind her.
Yeah. And, there's two people I don't think they should have belonged in the match, unfortunately. I didn't understand why we had Natalya and Tamina in there, truthfully.
Well, as long as they didn't win,
I'm
okay with it.
There was just I think there was more people, and they're the tag champs basically, and they should be just. I don't think they should have been in it. There could have been other women that could have been more prominent, that could have been, pushed a little bit more. But
I agree. You can throw in some NXT people.
Yeah.
Yeah, or you could swap out Dana Brooke for one of them.
But right. I really think that this match, it built Nikki, but I think this match built up Liv even more. I think people are going to connect with her more now because there's one thing that I felt with this match that was been different from other women's matches, whether, with ladders that are multi. They didn't seem like there was an urgency as much. It seemed like, someone's outside the ring, they're out there forever, and then you don't see them for, 5 minutes later. And it's just like, it didn't seem like there was an urgency until the very, very end. And that's the one problem I have with some of the ladder, Money in the Bank ladder matches is that the urgency isn't always there. And with the men's match, it was the gas pedal all the way with everybody. And with this women's match, I felt it was a little bit off at certain points. And I don't think it's been the best women's Money in the Bank match so far. To me, it might even be the bottom, truthfully, for me. I didn't feel like the urgency was there enough.
Yeah, I agree. We had a comment from David Smith. Nikki Cross winning the Money in the Bank is horrible. Honestly, she was about third on my list as a possibility to win. I'm kind of surprised they went this route. But we talked about it the other day. I automatically had Natalya and Tamina and Naomi written off right away. Asuka maybe is a possibility, but she wasn't my top of the list either. She won it last year.
She won it last year.
So I figured Alexa Bliss, Liv Morgan, or Zelina Vega were my top three. So Nikki Ash winning, she's kind of surprised me a little bit.
Kind of like the three women that were kind of prominent. All their significant others were just cut. Liv, Zelina, and Nikki. Something I noticed in this match. Yeah.
Hold on. Well, remind me who the significant others are.
Liv and Bo Dallas. Bo Dallas.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, dude. Okay. Zelina. We know Zelina and Black and
Alistair,
Nikki.
yeah.
Yeah. Nikki's with Big Damo there, with I forgot his name.
Killian Dane?
Yeah, Killian Dane.
He just got released. Listen, some of these pairings just don't even make sense.
I went with his old name as Big Damo.
Oh man. Omasa and AJ defeat the Viking Raiders. No surprise here. Good story. They're using Omos the right way. They're not exposing him too much. He's being his strengths are being used. I have no complaints.
I do.
What do you got? I mean, as a big man, I expect him to move slow. I expect him to use power moves. I expect him to be
fast. He can be fast. When he runs, he's actually fast for a big guy, and he looks good running. Some of those big guys, when they're in the ring, they look ridiculous when they run. It's just like they have no fluid movement when they run. And Osma, he can actually run pretty fast. So I'm actually kind of surprised. But there's just sometimes when he lays something in, a kick or whatever, it looks so lazy. It's not strong enough.
It's still green.
So green, dude. It's way beyond green now. It's just like AJ covers up so much, and the fans they just wanted to cheer for AJ in this match. That's all they cared about. And the great thing about this match is the Viking Raiders have chemistry with each other, and not wrestling together after almost a year, with the injury with Ivar, is they still had that chemistry in the ring, and that's the one thing I think saved this match a lot.
Yeah, I felt like Viking Raiders carried the match. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree. So first, I think that with Giant Omos, I think that he's got a lot of ceiling. Believe it or not, as a Giant, I think that he does have a really high ceiling. But as Peter's talking about, I think there's still a little rough around the edges. The fans are gravitating towards what they know, and they know AJ. They're excited to see AJ. And I think that being paired with AJ is the best thing for him because AJ can take care of him. He can make the opponents look good. He can sell, right? And also to your point there about the Viking Raiders, they were able to make Omos look really, really good, and it's their selling, it's their taking of his bumps that are really making him look that good. And so they really need to be strategic about who they go up against next because they really need to have someone who can sell, who can bump around, who can make up for some of that large awkwardness that he's still kind of got. And I like that point that we don't see a lot of the big giants, run around and doing a lot of that, because traditionally speaking, they're supposed to kind of just stand in the middle and the speedy guys are supposed to go around them and they're kind of like, how are we going to chop this tree down? And but we've seen that all the time with giant after giant after giant. And so why not give this guy a chance to run around? Give this guy a chance to go off the top rope if he wanted to, you know what I mean? But they got to be careful with, we don't want him to be just another one of the big men that kind of make an impression, but then don't really, meet their true potential. They're putting a lot of stock behind them. Yeah.
Pete, I got a question for you. Who is your favorite Giant of all time? That's not Undertaker or Kevin Nash, but over 7 feet tall. Who do you think is the best wrestler of all time in the last in the WrestleMania era?
The Big Show.
Big Show?
Big
okay.
guy. I mean,
I think that's
you
fair.
got Andre the Giant and stuff like that, but you got to say Big Show because he can have a wrestling match with Rey Mysterio. He can have a match
He
against.
can still have a wrestling match.
He can have a match with Shawn Michaels or whoever. He can have a wrestling match and still look good in the ring. And that's something I think Amos, he has to watch things like that, you know? He should study tapes like that on the big show because that's a guy that can move in the ring. He can move. And he wasn't just slow and prodding and stuff like that. And that's something he's got to be a special attraction too at times, you know?
How about Giant Gonzalez?
I know you loved him, man. Especially when in the WCW era. You loved him until he got
right?
And
believe it or not, that was before my time. I started watching wrestling in '93, so I don't know much about El Gigante. Only know him as Giant Gonzalez and the Mummy.
Yeah. So who was the faces?
The Yeti. The Yeti.
Yeah. Who was the faces and the heels in this match?
In this tag team match,
it was kind of off. It was thrown off because
the Viking Raiders were built the whole time as the faces.
But like AJ Styles is getting the beat down. You know what I mean? And the Viking Raiders, I guess, is supposed to be the faces in this match. You know, but
but you got to give almost his hot tag.
Yeah. So it was almost neutral. You know? It was kind of like, okay, there was no build up to this match. What I thought was funny was how they showed the Viking Raiders before the match when they had everything that they did during the pandemic with the Street Profits. Where they showed character.
That's phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. I wouldn't mind if they did something like that again. Moving on, the WWE Championship on the line. Kofi Kingston versus Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley defended against Kofi Kingston, that is. And for the most part, we got very much one-sided match. It was about 6-7 minutes long. Basically, the commentators are telling the story of who can beat this man, and Corey Graves is like, nobody. So here's my thing, and I think we can talk about this now. They're building Bobby Lashley to be dominant, and whether it's working or not, I don't know. I think they're doing okay with Bobby Lashley's run as champion. But tomorrow night, we know that Bill Goldberg is coming back, and he is probably going to be challenging Bobby Lashley for the title at SummerSlam. So we got our eyes on that as a possibility for tomorrow. Any thoughts on Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston before we move on? There wasn't really a whole lot going on here otherwise.
Disappointing. Totally disappointing. Kofi gives his everything in every match that he ever wrestles. Have you ever seen Kofi ever lazy or ever just like mail in a match? Never, ever. And lately, the build-up he's been Xavier in the ring. Since he's come back from injury, he's been phenomenal. He's been given his 100%. So this is what kind of threw me off is here we are. Xavier beats him, what was it, like a week ago, whatever. And they made Xavier look good in the ring with Bobby Lashley. And they totally killed Kofi in this match. And, you know.
This is the first time.
You know. But here you go. Xavier beat him. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, Kofi should have a fighting chance at least. And the match was too fast. I don't think they gave any time. Like I said, unfortunately there was no offense, you know, for Kofi. And he just took the beating, you know, the good worker that he is, you know. I just thought the finish was so crappy, you know. And I told you, this is offline, but I mean, how great would it have been if Xavier cost him the match, you know what I mean? And turned heel. And I think Xavier could pull that off so well. But WWE doesn't want to see that because they have so much sales in the new day. You know, they sell merchandise, and that's what they sell it to the families. And you know, I would love to see a feud with Kofi and Xavier. I think they could tear down the house.
I don't think you'll ever see New Day turn on each other, but that would be one heck of a surprise if that ever happened, though. Joe, your thoughts on it? Yeah, Joe, your thoughts on the title match?
So for me, you gotta give up to Kofi. Like Peter's saying, you know, he's never lazy. He puts it all out there, and I think to his credit, he's done this before in the past. And I'm gonna cite Beast in the East from 2015, July 4th, 2015. A very similar match between him and Brock Lesnar. He was going up against Brock Lesnar. It was very one-sided. It was very minimal offense from Kofi. And it was to try and really stamp Brock Lesnar as this unbeatable monster. Not to mention, this was this place
and then
Japan.
it happened again on SmackDown with Kofi lost his
And
title.
it happened. Okay, so a couple of things, right? It happened a couple of times where WWE's returning to Japan and they have Brock Lesnar there because Japan loves Brock Lesnar back when he was in New Japan and all that. And so obviously they're going to want to make him look really good and give the Tokyo Dome a really run for their money, right? And then fast forward to a couple of years, the very first SmackDown on Fox Network, same type of thing with Brock Lesnar versus Kofi Kingston, and very one-sided, minimal offense. And then we have it again. Now this time we're treating Bobby Lashley to this Kofi Kingston buffet and trying to make Bobby Lashley into that kind of unbeatable monster. And so, yeah, they're building for something, and they're trying to. I think as yours again, I'm more of like a casual TV fan at this point. Really just watching highlights and whatnot, and I'm really hoping that changes soon. But in terms of Bobby Lashley's push as champion, really distancing himself from that gimmicky, hurt business type of deal, and now really just him on the go-home show on Raw, he was just like, I'm done with all of this. I am a dominant force, and that's how I should be treated. And I think that's where we're coming off of. From that go home show. Now we're telling that same story here on Sunday. I'm going to make it one-sided, and now on Monday, everyone's going to have all their eyes on me. And I think that would be a perfect time to put in a guy like Goldberg to kind of push for the summer show. Is it something that we fans want? I don't know, but at the same time, it makes sense in their storytelling to be able to be like, yeah, let's give him Goldberg because he's. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Vince really wants. He wants to pack out seats.
Look at these guys.
Look at these stud muffins with these big muscles.
I don't know about American fans. I think internationally, Goldberg's gonna draw anyway. I just hated seeing Kofi get buried like that in this match after everything that happened with Xavier so far with that. And I understand him saying, "Okay, you know what? I'm done with this." Everybody hated seeing the Hurt Business break up the way they broke up. But it's just I understand you saying what you're saying as far as the booking goes, going against Goldberg. Yeah. I don't think Goldberg
no one does it better than Kofi, like hats off to him that he's able to put on that type of performance and help other guys. But
Brock is just a monster. There's very few guys that had extended minutes in the ring with him. And those guys are amazing wrestlers that wrestled him. You had Seth, you had Brian, him and Taker went the distance a couple of times. When he came back, Brock, he crushed everybody, but he did have those matches. So Bobby can have matches with everybody too. He's the same way, he doesn't have to be that, Brock Lesnar type where he just smashes and destroys everything in his way. He could still have those matches and still show how dominant he is and how powerful he is. But
yeah, you know what? He opened a Raw with Braun Strowman, the one where they crashed through the lights and whatnot, and that was an awesome match.
Yeah, Bobby's amazing. Since he came back, I think him going away taught him so much. In ring being an Impact.
MVP's done wonders for him.
Yeah, he definitely has. When
I love that.
Back, he was a little stale when he first came back. I think MVP's helped him a lot. But his in-ring was always there. It was just finding that character that finally it's coming after MVP.
He went over on Roman Reigns on I think it was SummerSlam the year he came back.
Mm-hmm.
Look at those glutes. Those glutes. Those pythons and pectorals. Gotta have a main event in SummerSlam. Oh, boy. We're going to revisit this in a second, by the way. Not Bobby's glutes, but the match that we just talked about. We're going to refer back to that in a couple moments. But moving on, the quick rundown of the WWE Raw Women's title match. We got Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley. Charlotte challenging for the women's title. No big surprise there because Charlotte must main event. The fans chanting, "We want Becky" the whole entire time. Little surprised that we didn't get her tonight. She's been at SmackDown. She was at Money in the Bank tonight. She should be at Raw tomorrow. I would expect her to show up tomorrow. That's something I got my eye on for the big Raw surprise for the fans. First Raw back. So I'm expecting that. But we see a back and forth match with Ripley and Charlotte. We see Charlotte turn Rhea's Riptide into the DDT onto Rhea Ripley at one point. Charlotte also using the back elbow, taking the play out of Andrade's book. So Andrade's been working with her on that, I'm sure. Hey, we got a comment here. Charlotte reigns. Yes, I totally agree, Dave. Listen, after tonight, though, Charlotte proved once again that she does belong in the main event scene. But my problem with you and why I agree with you, Dave, is the overexposure of Charlotte Flair all the time. But the commentators were telling the story of Rhea's knee from the beginning of the match, so you kind of figured that Rhea's knee was going to play a factor later on. Charlotte kicks the stairs into Rhea's knee because Rhea's knee was put in between the ring post and the stairs. Several times Charlotte kicking the stairs into Rhea's knee, and then that sets up Charlotte Flair to put the figure 8 onto Rhea Ripley. Charlotte gets a win, tapping out Rhea Ripley. I think this is going to set up for tomorrow night. I think Becky is going to confront Charlotte Flair on Raw tomorrow. And set up that main event. I think the Charlotte Rhea Ripley program is done for a little while. What do you guys think?
Okay, I want to mention something, all right? When's the last time Charlotte won something significant? It's been a while. She's been taking a lot of losses lately. A lot.
But she's been in every single main event.
But she hasn't won.
She's got some go away. She doesn't need to be in every main event. I don't think
she gets that. I think she gets this a couple of years ago. I don't think right now she deserves that title. I don't think she's been, I have to win. I have to do this. I have to do that. I think she's been more of a team player lately. And I think, I think this is one of the best matches tonight. I thought the crowd
was great.
I don't think they were chanting. They weren't chanting Becky the whole entire time. I think there was a quick 30-second spot where they chanted for Becky and then it died.
And that was in the beginning of the match.
They built up this match so well that the fans started chanting for both of them, and they started going at each other. And you weren't sure who was going to win. But we finally saw the dirtiest player come out in Charlotte. When she was on the top rope and she gave that natural selection to Rhea, and Rhea kicked out of that crowd could have blew the roof off that place. And that's when Charlotte did that whole thing with the knee in the steps. And the crowd was just going crazy. They were eating it and eating it and eating it. And that's what it took when she's locked in the figure 8. But the build-up in that match is something we haven't seen in a while. And I got to give both of them credit for this match. Rhea's still missing character for the crowds to really connect
with her. She needs work.
And this isn't just because, we're even in the Thunderdome. I don't think people were connecting with her because the character's not there yet. So this match, I think, does wonders for her. But it's where they take her from this point. She's not going to be in this feud right now. Maybe she will be. Maybe it'd be triple threat. Who knows? That's the one thing with WWE with the women's. Sometimes they make them into triple threat matches.
It's possible. It's possible
because the crowd was hot on this. I think this is when they really came alive the whole entire night.
And I don't know, Joe, I don't know if you noticed the look on Charlotte's face, but she knew that her and Rhea Ripley were tearing it up, and she knew that the fans were eating it up. I just saw the look on Charlotte's face. Like, Charlotte was proud of the match that they had tonight. Like I said, Charlotte tore it up. I mean, she proved why she belongs to be a champion, and why she proved why WWE consistently has her in the main event match because she tears it up. She tears it up. As much as I hate to say it, the overexposure can get me sick of seeing somebody on TV sometimes, but she tore it up tonight. And hands down, my opinion, one of the best matches of the night, if not the best match of the night, next to a match we'll talk about a little later on. But Joe, your thoughts quickly before we move on?
Just a real quick point. I think that, this is the first title run that Charlotte's getting since, having did the run with NXT, right? When she chose to do that with the Royal Rumble, and she took it off of Rhea Ripley from WrestleMania, and she was on NXT television when they first went onto the USA Network. So USA Network, broadcasted NXT for the first time, and Charlotte was their champion. Charlotte was the face of the women's division there. And I think that, I wish I could have, in my opinion, I wish I would have seen a little bit more of that run. And then fast forward now, and like you said, I think for this particular match tonight, I think that this was the first "This is awesome" chant that I heard from that night, and I think it was well deserved. And then I think, to your point, Wayne, I think that there was a point where Charlotte knew that this was their match, right? And she gave a little nod, I think, where she's like, "All right, let's do this. Let's really do it." And I think that hats off to both of these superstars. I think that Rhea Ripley, I agree, needs a little bit more character development. There's something there that's missing, but I think that there's something that she'll probably find along the way, hopefully. But to her credit, she sells like no one else. I love how she takes her bumps, and she makes the big moves look like huge moves. She's got the little turn to her head where she falls on her shoulder, really selling it. She did it on the outside with the moonsault, and then again, she's the spiking of her head when she took the natural selection off the turnbuckle. Gosh, take care of this girl, because she's got to be able to do that for years and years,
Her head butts.
Yeah, but you know what? All more power to her to be able to move like that and to make everyone else look so good. And for Charlotte, another reign under her belt. And how close is she to getting that 16 times?
Probably about 3 away, maybe.
Is that right? I feel like they're gonna give it to her. Every time she gets one of these, I'm like,
that would be crazy if she gets to that before Cena does, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But
for sure,
that'd be crazy. But we're gonna do something. I'm gonna do something slightly different, and you guys are gonna understand why I'm gonna do this. But we're gonna talk about the Universal Championship match first, really quick, and then we'll talk about the men's Money in the Bank and see where we go from there. But we had to close out the show, we had Edge challenging Roman Reigns for his Universal Championship. A quick rundown on this. We see Edge inadvertently take out the ref, so the referee's down, holding his knee, and then Edge had Roman in the crossface with the chair bar for minutes while the ref was knocked out. And we see Rey and Dominic take out the Usos, preventing them from interfering, which was good. It kind of made you believe that, maybe Edge might actually pull this out tonight. We on the podcast 2 nights ago, episode 68, predicted Roman for this. But moving on, Seth comes in, super kicks Edge from behind. And then we see Edge almost get the win from a spear. Roman took a beating. He just wouldn't go down tonight. And then we see Seth Rollins interfere again, distracting Edge, allowing Roman to get the spear and the 1, 2, 3, retaining his Universal Championship. Roman Reigns then posing in the ring. We see Seth Rollins challenging Roman Reigns, and then Edge gets Rollins out of there. Seth Rollins runs away, so they're setting up Edge versus Seth Rollins at SummerSlam. That's been quite evident for a few weeks now. Then out comes John Cena. Cena is back.
I didn't see him.
He is back. It took me like 10 seconds to get that.
I was just to be like, oh, you didn't watch
it? John Cena is back. He is back. He looks good, a little smaller. I don't know what was up his hairdo, but whatever. But he looked great. He came in. He was excited. He ran right into the ring. He looked awesome. He didn't take his shirt off tonight, and I think that's probably because he needs to jack up for the next 6 weeks for his SummerSlam match. But that's definitely happening. Roman Reigns versus John Cena, probably for the Universal Championship. I agree, Dave. I just said that Cena needs to cut his hair a little bit. Definitely looks better than what it did during the COVID era, though. That's for sure. But Cena's back. I mean, this is a match that Vince McMahon feels is going to draw in Las Vegas. I'm excited to be able to see it. But we are getting John Cena versus Roman Reigns. Mark my words, we're getting that as main event of SummerSlam in Las Vegas next month.
You think? He came out tonight, dude. Of course, it's the SummerSlam main
event. And we've been talking about this for 2-3 months now. This is nothing new.
It's been rumored. Everybody knew it. They didn't know when he was going to come out and stuff like that, but it's been rumored. The crowd blew the roof off when he came out. He had a ball being out there. You could tell it. Dude, the hair's the hair, man. He's doing movies now. He's not just pigeonholed to WWE no more, man. He belongs to the world.
Is he balding? Is that what it is? Is he trying to cover it up, like slick it back to cover
that's
it
what
up?
Somebody said that.
He's had that problem for a couple of years with the back of his head.
But no, he's doing movies and stuff like that. So he's always got to look different now, You don't belong to us no more. So
it's all right.
This match, I know they had the big, huge build up. And they almost lost the crowd in the beginning, man. Like the first 5 to 10 minutes, they could have done without almost like. I mean, it was just Roman. They were just roaming around in the ring. And then it was just Roman just destroying Edge constantly. And it was just like, all right, come on, let's get to the build-up. It took way too long to get there. And this pay-per-view was already going long. And you're looking at the clock and stuff like that. You're just like, okay, now we're over like 11:05. Okay, where's this going to get exciting now? I think it took a little bit too long to get to that for me personally. But it was a good match once it got to that point. And we haven't seen a ref bump like that in a while. It was the first one on the night.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what? I loved the selling. I loved the bumping there. And I'm talking just about Charles Robinson with the knee. But yeah, I think that like you said, I think that it took a while for the match to get there. I think there's a big difference between storytelling and what we got. I think that there's a big difference between match psychology and what we actually got, right? Because what we really got was making sure Edge was warmed up, making sure that we can take care of him because, he might not be in his prime or whatever. And so I get it that you need a rest hold every once in a while, but like that was a little too much for your main event. You know what I mean? And so, but the match eventually did, get to an exciting part where I'm like, well, maybe Edge could take it, and then I think overall, in order for whatever story they want to write, whatever it is that they're really pushing, I think that the match did its job. Was it a great main event for the first, WWE Universe back pay-per-view since WrestleMania? I don't know. But I think what we did get was a build-up for something more. And I think that we're going to make both Raw and SmackDown must-see TV again. Why not throw in John Cena? Why not do all these things to try and promote, But I think the match alone could not have done that. And so for Seth Rollins to come out, even for the Mysterios to come out and just say like, hey, no, we're not done telling our story too. Mm-hmm. That kind of neutralizes the Usos. And then we have Seth Rollins coming out. So we're like, this one match, I think they knew isn't going to be the show-stealing match. It's going to be what we need to do to push forward from here on out, especially with the WWE Universe now back.
And the reason why it was less was because of Cena, the whole thing.
Exactly.
If you would have thought maybe it would have been the men's ladder match, should have been the last thing. And
I like that they put
Cena.
I like that they put the ladder match beforehand, because then you never know, is Big E gonna come out? You know, like.
Yeah.
But dude, you had the classic. Oh, where's the ref? Where's the ref? Where's the ref? 2 count when it finally comes out.
Oh man, I don't know if you guys saw, but
ref coming out way too late.
Yeah. Oh, did you see that the crowd was doing 1, 2, and the Roman's shoulder went up just a little bit, and I'm like, oh, there's no ref, because I keep hearing the crowd, you know. So maybe he's not used to it again, you know? Like,
yeah.
I did catch that really quick. I'm like, oh man. Well, before we come in for landing, for those of you guys that are watching, you guys are watching the Aftermath presented by the Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast. Make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Do not be lazy. Hit that subscribe button. Share with your friends. We got a lot of content coming for you for SummerSlam, and then All Out just a week or two after that. My gosh, there's a lot of work to do before we get a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Time to take a deep breath during the fall. Not a lot going on there as always, but yes, we got a busy August and early September. Bring a lot of content to you guys, so make sure you guys are subscribed and share with your friends. Please, if you like what you watch, share with everybody. Moving on, we have the men's Money in the Bank match, and you guys are going to see how I strategically booked the show of what we're talking about in this order in a moment. But the quick rundown, a couple good, excellent spots. Ricochet had a great showing. KO versus Nakamura versus Morrison versus Big E versus Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins versus Riddle versus Ricochet. My number one pick for this match, I originally thought was going to be Drew McIntyre, because the way that WWE's been booking Drew McIntyre for the past 2 months, they always go out of their way to remind you that Drew can't get a shot anymore. He cannot get a shot anymore. And I figured, okay, maybe he can get a shot with the loophole of carrying around the Money in the Bank briefcase. So that was my logic of thinking that Drew would probably win, which later we find out that he doesn't. But moving on, Nakamura had a great spot with John Morrison on top of the ladder with the armbar. That was great. Morrison and Rollins looked great aligning with each other. So that was fun to watch for a few minutes. Worked very well. Let me tell you something. Give me Riddle versus Nakamura all day. That 20 seconds interaction was probably one of my favorite interactions of that whole entire match. Drew McIntyre's face buster onto Ricochet. The ladder was a cool spot as well. Then we see Jinder Mahal and his lackeys take out Drew McIntyre out of the match for the rest of the night. I'm like, oh crap. Drew's going to be out, and then the rumored guy is probably going to win. We see, again, Ricochet with a great performance. Looks like KO is about to win, but then Seth power bombs KO outside of the ring. KO goes through the ladder. He's dead.
Great spot.
KO should be on vacation for the next 2 or 3 weeks or so. But Big E wins. Big E has the big ending onto Seth Rollins. And then Big E grabs that briefcase. And he is your new Money in the Bank winner for 2021. Fellas, where do we go from here with Big E holding that briefcase?
This is for you. I don't know if you can see this. It's a swerve. Here we go. There. Swerve. The Drew McIntyre swerve.
It's funny. Like I didn't really think too much of it, but a lot of people were talking about the possibility of Big E winning this one, and then maybe the possibility of him cashing in on Kofi Kingston if Kofi were to win against Bobby Lashley. I mean, maybe that some people were just saying as fantasy booking. I thought it could have been a cool idea, but a little too much. But yeah, Big E's your Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Joe, started with you. Where do we go from here?
So, congrats to Big E. I do listen to the New Day podcast every once in a while, and there have been times where he kind of talks about like, hey, I am a big guy. Use me as a big guy. Like, and it's one of those things where like he knows his worth. he knows that he's able to do it. He was NXT champion. In fact, I thought it was actually really cool that, you know, he had the spot with Seth because he took the NXT champion off of Seth back when they were back down there. And so I think that was kind of cool that they kind of shared that moment then, and now they share this moment now. You know, and congrats. You know, I think that, I mean, the whole idea of breaking up the New Day or taking him out of the New Day was so that they could push him to the moon, right? And, you know, they did. He had his that's it, man. You know, and he took his Intercontinental Championship, you know, and, you know, that run was great. And, you know, and then I think he's mixed it up with Roman Reigns a little bit here and there. And now I think he's got enough stock to, like, put the briefcase on him. No rush, you know, let him remind us that he's got this thing. You know, we'll see what happens. I think the other guys in the match definitely, some I think outshone a lot of the other ones. You know, like for instance, I love Ricochet. You know, I love his work, and obviously there's very few people who can move like he can move. And so to see that he's got a couple of his Ricochet spots, great. Did I think he was going to win? Absolutely not. You know, same thing with Morrison. You know, a couple of Morrison spots here and there, a little bit of storytelling here and there with the, you know, the weird quasi alliance. It didn't last long, you know. And
Ricochet
I thought that was
and
cool.
Morrison were just in that match to enhance the Money in the Bank match. Of what
Yeah, this is a ladder match.
spots.
We need some high flyers. You know, do your thing. You know, but that said, the couple of things that I really took notice of, and I think is because the crowd was there, was that one, the crowd is not 100% behind Drew McIntyre, and I think that was expected. And the reason why I say that is because bringing your attention to WrestleMania, remember there was a big, huge rain delay. The first superstar that a live crowd had seen was Drew McIntyre, right? And so no wonder they're going to have this huge pop, and all of a sudden, you know, we got to see Drew McIntyre, and so everyone's happy, right? Now, Drew McIntyre's towards the end of the match. You know, he gets introduced or like whatever, he does his stuff. Not everyone's, you know, 100% behind the machine here, right? And so all of a sudden he gets taken out, and there are some people who I can hear are happy that Jinder Mahal and his guys are carrying him out, right? Because then like the spoon-fed guy is not there, and now we can go for some of the fan favorites like Riddle. Like he had pop after pop, RKO after RKO, and he looked really great against Nakamura, against everybody. I think this guy can have a match with anybody. And so I was really hoping for a Riddle win there to kind of see what the relationship is like with Riddle with the briefcase and Randy Orton kind of just, you know, crossly looking at him, you know.
What's in the briefcase? What's in Riddle's briefcase?
Oh, you know what's in Riddle's briefcase.
It's got tons of snacks. He's already done this already.
Yeah.
You know, briefcase, a little bit of fog. A little bit of rolled up fog.
The first half of this match, and this will piss Wayne off. The MVP of this match for the first half was Morrison. He did so many good moves.
No,
it wasn't until him and Seth had that little falling out, whatever. They fought about who had more drip in the beginning. But the moves that he made in the first half of this match, he made this match the first half of this
flip.
match.
He almost broke his neck doing that sideways flip.
Wayne,
for you.
And what they did to Kevin Owens with that right up with the ladder standing, you know, on his side. He took some nasty bumps. He always takes nasty
Kevin
bumps.
Owens took some nasty bumps.
Even when he used to go back with El Generico, man, he always takes nasty bumps, man. It's crazy. But
good for him.
The crowd loved Morrison, and I know it pissed Wayne off.
You know, conveniently, that's when Peacock was acting up, so I didn't catch some of that. So I was spared from.
Did we
some
see
of the
Miz
Morrison
at all?
antics.
I didn't see the entrance.
He came out at the top of the ramp, I think, and then left.
Yeah, Miz was there in the beginning, and Morrison said to him, "No, he's like, I can do this on my own. Let me do this on my own." And they didn't want to make Miz into being a distraction. Plus, Miz being injured, they didn't want to put him in a bad situation if someone's flying outside the ring. And there's chaos in the men's ladder match, no matter what. They're always flying all over. They didn't want to put him in that situation. But I want to go back to Drew real fast. People got tired of seeing Drew versus Lashley. That was the issue. Like you
Listen,
said,
when you have Drew McIntyre telling random stories that don't make sense,
yeah, but that wasn't
on Monday
until
Night
recently,
Raw, that
dude.
takes. This has been going on for a couple weeks. It
2
kind of
weeks
takes
now.
me out of it. Like, what are you talking
People
about?
were tired of him like 2 months ago. Right
No,
after
you're
WrestleMania,
right.
people got tired of Drew because they were tired of seeing Drew versus Lashley. And the thing was, Drew kept saying, "I deserve it, I deserve it, I deserve it," and people were just like, "No, you don't deserve it. You shouldn't be in that spot anymore. You lost. Get out of here. We're done seeing this. We've seen this already. We don't want to see it again." And I'm glad that they see this and they see the writing on the wall right now. So they'll build him up again. He'll get that chance eventually in another year, or less. But it's not going to be until next year's WrestleMania, I don't think, But I think given the thing with Big E, what hurt Big E a lot was the pandemic. Big E feeds off of people and he feeds off the crowd and he loves people. He's just a fun-loving guy. You hear him on the podcast, like you said, he loves everybody that's around him. And, without having that loud crowd, I think that hurt him more than anything. And I think that's what hurt that push.
Let me tell you something. I think and we're going to segue into this. I think there is a huge plan for Big E. He won that when he won that grabbed that briefcase tonight at the top of the ladder. He was weeping. He was genuinely into it. I have a feeling that he knows and WWE knows that there's a plan with that Big E winning the title very shortly, which leads me to my SummerSlam prediction.
I don't think it's going to be that. I don't think it's
I think we are going to, exactly where I'm going. I think
he's going to call him out. He's going to call him out in the match.
Lashley versus Goldberg for your WWE Championship match. It can only go 5 to 10 minutes long. You got to do something that's suspect right there to me, which I think somehow Lashley is laid out, Goldberg spears him, and or Big E cashes somewhere in the middle of the match or after the match. But I think Big E is cashing in at SummerSlam. However, Pete, which maybe what I think you're trying to get to is Big E is going to somehow insert himself into this main event because we know Goldberg versus Big E, Goldberg versus what's his Goldberg versus Bobby Lashley is happening at SummerSlam. That's where they're going. I think Big E is going to somehow insert himself into this program and Big E becomes a champion.
I see Big E having too much pride. I just think the type of person he is. I don't see him coming into a match and then stealing it and saying, "All right, here's the briefcase."
Okay, so maybe he comes out on Raw. Maybe he comes out on Raw and challenges.
Big E is the type
Lashley.
of person, and his character is the type of person. I think with the writers is that he's going to challenge somebody to a pay-per-view and say, "This is it." I think he's going to be a one-on-one match. I think this is what it's going to be. I don't see Big E being that type of person.
I think we may get a triple threat. I think we may get an announced triple threat. I think Big E's gonna interrupt these guys tomorrow night. I can see Big E showing up on Raw tomorrow night, interrupting Lashley and then Goldberg, their interaction. Joe, what do you think?
So I think it's just like a title, right? The superstar can't make the title. The title can't make the superstar. The superstar's got to make the title, right? Big E's got to make that briefcase for him. You know what I mean? I although I think it's exciting in the moment when like the same night someone cashes it in and wins it, or even like the next night or whatever. But I like the longer reigns because you get to kind of see where the storyline is and like how much, and sometimes there's a lack of storytelling or writing or pushing for these people who are carrying around this briefcase for almost a year. Take into consideration Otis, right? He was carrying it, but like I'm sure they didn't really know what to do with him, and so just like
they had no clue.
Who is he really going to cash it in on with no crowd there? You know what I mean? But now, and like Pete was saying, that with Big E, feeding off of the crowd, really letting the crowd share that moment with him on top of the ladder, letting him get emotional, letting him getting hyped, letting him dance, do his thing. You can see just how exciting of a character he is. So give him some time where he can make that impression.
And if that's the case, then why not just drag it out till WrestleMania then?
No,
You could.
I see Royal Rumble. I see Royal
Rumble too. I was going to say, if Wayne, like you're saying, if he's going to implant himself in it, yeah, I say let him open up the show in Royal Rumble. Even if he loses the match, go into the Rumble at the end of the night. You know what I mean? Like, you could do something like that.
Yeah, or maybe, listen, Survivor Series has been so dead. It's so boring for the past couple of years. I think if they want to rejuvenate Survivor Series, I think maybe you can have it here at that pay-per-view. But we'll have to see. So, again, my opinion is I suspect that we could see Big E insert himself into the Lashley Goldberg program that's about to happen. Maybe, maybe not, but I got my eyes on that for sure. We're going to see John Cena, Roman Reigns. That's happening. I would expect to see, based off of everything that happened tonight, Randy Orton and Riddle. Where the hell has Randy Orton been? But anyway, I would expect to see Randy Orton and Riddle challenge AJ and Omos for the tag titles. I would expect Randy and Riddle to win the tag belts and let them have a run for a little while, and then they could tell that story, maybe have a one-on-one match at Mania.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, I can see that happening. It looks like we're probably going to get Becky versus Charlotte. I'm looking for Becky to challenge Charlotte and show up. And I think that's really all I got for SummerSlam predictions right now. It's a little early, but and then Seth Rollins, Edge, we already talked about that already. But guys, before we end the show, Joe, and then Pete, do you guys have any last minute thoughts? Yeah, you're a little yellow, but that's okay. You're not mellow though. Joe, last minute thoughts about tonight and then going forward.
I think the big winners of tonight are the crowd that was there and us, so who we can see and feel the crowd's reactions. Because sometimes, for me as a wrestling fan, I didn't know how much I needed that. I didn't know how much I needed the crowd to really kind of not just influence my own reactions, because I have my own opinions, I have my own reactions, but at the same time, it's almost part of the wrestling experience to kind of hear what the crowd's saying and kind of responding to that reaction. It's part of just this essence of being part of this WWE universe, right? I mean, and so thank goodness we're back, or at least the crowds are back, and thank goodness that we had a pretty good show. I mean, it was one of the first pay-per-views where I didn't look at the matches saying, oh, I could have seen that on a Monday Night Raw or a SmackDown. Some of them I think definitely could have, but some of them did feel like pay-per-view matches. And I always want my pay-per-view matches to feel like the big time, big money type matches,
Pete, your thoughts?
What a week to end Shark Week. Just to end it with Money in the Bank. It was good, man. I thought it was a good pay-per-view. There's one thing, you might hate Raw or you might hate SmackDown. I think SmackDown's better than Raw by a lot, but the pay-per-views usually deliver. Even during the pandemic, their pay-per-views were still pretty good with wrestling-wise in the ring. We still got quality. We still store good stuff, but having the live crowd, no doubt, kicked it up a notch that the wrestlers fed off of it throughout the whole entire night. It was good not to see anybody feel out of character, because it's been a year and a half almost of not having that, and it just fed them, and it's, there's going to be a 24 or whatever, a documentary series that's going to be on Wayne's favorite Peacock network of these wrestlers coming back after the pandemic, for their first time having a live crowd. And it's going to be so interesting and cool to hear these stories of these people. I think it's going to be a good watch. I think it's definitely, because they document everything now. It's crazy backstage, and it's going to be so interesting, to see how they're responding to it. We're going to hear podcasts with people and things like that. And the live crowd just kicked up this pay-per-view even more, and they fed off of it.
Yeah, there's definitely going to be documentaries all for this weekend alone.
Yeah, that's what I said on the Peacock Network.
Yeah. So for those of you guys that are watching, thank you so much for hopping on tonight. It is 12:40 Eastern time here in Long Island, New York.
It's the drip time.
It's the drip time. But those of you guys that are watching, I don't know if you guys heard, we are changing our podcast name. We are going from Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast to the Aftermath Pro Wrestling Podcast. The distinction will be the Aftermath will be the post shows like we're doing now. It'll be the Aftermath post show. And as far as the audio goes, it'll be the Aftermath Pro Wrestling Podcast, which I'm hoping, if all editing goes good, that we keep our Deep Six Pro Wrestling Podcast theme song, because we like that. We'll throw in a couple new sound bites in there and carry on. And then we'll see what we venture into next. So keep your eyes and ears open on that. Make sure you guys are following our Twitter for those announcements.
Wait, real quick. So sorry. Yeah. So you're saying that we're changing the name from Deep Six? So Baron Corbin's not going to get any more royalties from Deep Six either? Man, the guy needs some money, right? That's the whole thing.
Wait,
I gotta change it fast so I don't have to give him royalties. So
he's gonna come calling.
He's gonna come calling because he's apparently out of money right now. So he's apparently lost everything. But Joe, thank you so much for coming on and being our post-show co-host once again. Pete, thank you so much for coming on tonight. What an excellent show we had.
Spicy.
It was spicy. Oh, man. Episode 69 will be this Friday or Saturday. We'll figure that out. We'll announce that during the week. We're almost at episode 70, 30 episodes away from 100 episodes. That is happening. So that will be upcoming this week. For those of you guys that are watching and listening, thank you so much for hopping on and taking the time to watch our post show. We had a number of viewers tonight. So make sure you guys like and share and post and share and post and share and post and share. So you guys are watching, thank you so much, and you guys have a good night.